Welcome to Raw History. Here, we cut through romanticization and speculation to show you, well, the unfiltered reality of human history. The cold hard truth about modern lighters is butane lighters face genuine limitations in cold weather that make them unreliable for survival situations. Butane is a gas at room temperature, and only by pressurizing it can it remain liquid at room temperature. When temperatures drop, the butane simply won't vaporize in the container enough to sustain a flame. Field testing demonstrates this quite conclusively. When lighters are placed in a freezer for about 30 minutes, Boer lighters require warming in the hand for about 20 seconds before producing even the smallest flames. Even several minutes after removal from freezing conditions, they produce very small and weak flames, which are just unsuitable for lighting damp tinder. The most common cold temperatures that prevent a lighter from functioning properly occur right around water's freezing point. Cold temperatures force the fuel to remain in a liquid state, preventing anything for the spark from igniting. Mountaineers and winter backpackers document consistent failures. At 10,000 feet elevation and -5 degrees Fahrenheit, lighters fail completely unless kept warm against the body. One experienced winter camper reported that holding a BIC lighter in the hand for several minutes in low teens temperatures produced only a short-lived flame, which forced reliance on matches instead. Understanding butane's physical limitations really comes down to the science behind these failures, which involves basic thermodynamics. When temperatures drop, air pressure inside a lighter decreases. Since lighters rely on air pressure to create sparks and flames, they struggle in cold temperatures. Low temperatures cause the fuel inside to thicken, making flame propagation difficult. The colder temperature also affects the flint component, which strikes sparks to ignite fuel. Lower temperatures make spark-to-fuel contact more difficult, preventing reliable ignition. Butane has a relatively high boiling point for a gas, so it produces less vapor when it's cold. This is the main reason why, backpackers usually avoid butane for camping in colder areas. Both propane and butane vaporize at around -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Any colder than that, and they actually revert to a sort of gel-like stage that just won't burn. Even at temperatures well above this extreme, reduced vaporization leads to unreliable performance, which really isn't suitable for emergency situations where, fire could be critical for survival. The practical workaround, keeping lighters in your pants pockets close to your body heat, works only when you have modern clothing with insulated pockets and, well, you can actually dedicate pocket space to keeping your equipment warm. In true Stone Age conditions, without synthetic insulation, waterproof pockets, or even woven textiles that can trap body heat, maintaining lighter temperature becomes impossible. Plus, the moisture from perspiration, rain, or snow can compromise piezoelectric igniters, preventing the spark you need, even if fuel vaporization is still adequate. Primitive fire methods, especially friction-based fire starting, represent technology that's been perfected over tens of thousands of years across all sorts of climates and conditions. The bow drill method, for example, uses components that are honestly readily available from nature. A wooden spindle, a hearth board with a notch carved for ember collection, a bow made from flexible wood with cordage, and a handhold bearing block. Each of these components serves a specific purpose, developed through careful observation and refinement across countless generations. The spindle, typically straight dry wood about pencil thickness and 8 to 10 inches long, rotates against the hearth board to generate friction heat. Cottonwood, willow, cedar, and other softwoods work well for both spindle and hearth board, because they're soft enough to generate dust through friction but hard enough to maintain structural integrity during the process. The bow provides mechanical advantage, allowing continuous rotation that builds heat through sustained friction rather than requiring the exhausting hand drill method. Proper technique involves body mechanics that maximize downward pressure while maintaining steady, rhythmic strokes. The practitioner kneels with one foot on the hearth board to stabilize it, positions the spindle in the carved depression, and uses the bow to spin the spindle while applying downward pressure through the bearing block held in the opposite hand. The friction generates wood dust that accumulates in the notch carved into the hearth board. As temperature rises, this dust begins to smoke, then glows as an ember forms. Creating the ember represents only half the challenge. The glowing coal must be transferred to prepared tinder without extinguishing. Tinder preparation requires collecting completely dry, fine materials, shredded bark, dry grass, seed fluff, or similar materials processed into a nest shape with the finest material at the center. The ember slides from the hearth board into the tinder nest, which is then gently blown to provide oxygen while the practitioner cups hands around it to contain heat. Controlled breathing increases ember temperature until flames appear in the tinder. This moment requires patience. Rushing causes the ember to cool, while too little oxygen prevents combustion. Once flaming, the tinder bundle transfers to larger kindling, arranged in a structure allowing air circulation while concentrating heat. The entire process, from spindle rotation to sustained flame, can take 10 to 20 minutes for experienced practitioners, far longer than flicking a lighter, but functions regardless of temperature, altitude, or moisture levels once dry materials are secured. The knowledge required extends beyond mechanical operation. Understanding which woods work best in local environments, how to process cordage from plant fibers or sinew, where to find reliably dry tinder even in wet conditions, and how environmental factors affect friction and combustion, all represent accumulated wisdom passed through demonstration and practice. This knowledge base proves infinitely more reliable than dependence on manufactured tools requiring specific conditions for operation. Subscribe to Raw History for evidence-based explorations of survival technologies that separate practical knowledge from romanticized primitivism. And, share your fire-starting experiences in the comments below.